Welcome back into the Outlaw Lawyers, hosted by Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer, managing partners at Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. Offices conveniently located Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, and Gastonia. They are practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. If you've got a legal question, again, we talk legalese each and every week. If you've got a legal question of your own, you can call this number, 800-659-1186. That's 800-659-1186, and leave your contact information, briefly what the call's about, and an attorney will be in touch. You can also email your questions to the program, questions@theoutlawlawyer.com. We'll answer those on future programs. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We'll go back to the guys. What's next?
Well, Morgan, we haven't sat down and talked since the mask mandate. So there was I think everybody knows, like if you were getting on an airplane, you still had to wear a mask until about a week or so ago. So the CDC still had a mask mandate basically for public transportation, I think at least around where we're at here in North Carolina, most of the schools had dropped their mask mandate, most of the counties and cities and most of the private businesses, so I don't even carry my mask anymore. I never thought we'd get to this day. I used to always have a mask in my pocket. I don't have it anymore. I went to the doctor the other day and they still require one in the healthcare setting, which makes sense, I guess. But I had to ask for one because I didn't have one. But anyway, the airplane mask mandate has been making a lot of people angry both ways. It always interests me to see an issue that makes, both sides of the issue like just irate, and certainly this is one, right? The violence on airplanes and everything have spiked over this mask mandate. And this one seemed to survive everything else going away. So it was making people even more angry, right? This was like the last mask mandate. And I saw a lot of people report on this, and I didn't really understand how the case got started. So that's one of the things I went back and looked at. Joe, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that yet.
Yeah, so, what we have here, basically, we've got the plaintiffs in this lawsuit are two women, and we'll not say their name. We'll just say they're two women. And they, along with the Health Freedom Defense Fund, which is a Wyoming nonprofit that's kind of challenged a lot of the COVID vaccine and mask mandates, they're the ones who brought this suit. And basically, they allege that the CDC mandate was arbitrary and capricious, since it gave exemptions to certain groups like children under 2 years of age, but not other people. So they basically said that, again, it was arbitrary. So you had the U.S. District Court Judge Catherine Kimball Mizell, who's the judge for the Middle District of Florida, called the policy unlawful and ruled that the CDC had overstepped its legal authority by imposing the mandate in February of 2021. So you had a lot of people who got super fired up, like you said, on both sides. And this judge has now come out and basically said that the CDC essentially did not have the authority to do so and that it was an unlawful mandate.
So when you hear on the news that there's been a federal judge struck down this or a federal judge did this, one thing they never tell you is how it got started, right? So this was a nonprofit, and then two women who apparently had suffered damage because of this. The damage, I guess, being flying and being forced to wear a mask, and that's what got in front of a judge, right? Judges just don't arbitrarily review the actions of the CDC. You need an aggrieved party, you need a plaintiff, you need a controversy, you need some damage, and so all these things have to be in place. And there's a lot of nonprofits out there who go around and try to find plaintiffs for these actions. Anytime somebody tries, gun law, is getting challenged, there's usually a nonprofit that's found someone, who technically has been affected. But bringing a federal lawsuit takes money. That's not an inexpensive thing. So for me, it's always fascinating how something like this got started. How did it get before this judge? And a lot of these nonprofits, I'm going down a side road here, but forum shopping, right? They find a forum, a state court or a federal court, where they think that court may be favorable to their side. And so here they ended up in Florida, and they won, at least temporarily. That was an injunction type matter. So right now, masks are optional, and the CDC, I think, has appealed that. So in a couple of weeks, there'll be another argument. and we'll see if that stays the case. But for right now, and I've flown a couple of times during the pandemic. One was like a 5-hour trip, and that mask. Man, that's rough. I'm already uncomfortable on a plane because I'm a bigger guy, and so I'm barely fit in the seat as it is. So I'm already uncomfortable, and I don't even care about the science. You can tell me all day like you're safer with a mask, and I believe you. That makes sense to me. But man, I don't want to wear it on a plane for however many hours you're stuck on that plane and already uncomfortable. But that's just me.
I was actually with you on that flight you're referring to, Josh, and I was sitting right across the aisle, and I can confirm for the listeners, you were very uncomfortable, man. I could see it. I could see it even with the mask on your face. I could just your body language. I could see it, and I could tell that you were having a bad time. You were not enjoying yourself whatsoever, and it's very like you said. It's amazing how quickly, at least for me, how quickly you get used to some of these COVID-based things that that kind of became a part of our everyday life, and having the mask and the expectation that you need the mask anywhere you went and carrying that mask with you everywhere. And then how quickly, like you, man, I don't have a mask anymore. I don't carry it with me. If I go somewhere that requires it, I have to borrow. And, the shift to the mask and then away from the mask it's been really drastic, man. But we always longed for that normalcy again. Anytime we talked about COVID, we would kind of speculate, when will it ever be normal? Will we ever return to kind of a feeling of normalcy? And I'd say we've gotten pretty dang close to it, man.
Yeah, good question. It's not a legal question, but there will be, COVID will spike again, and I guess it depends on the variant and how people are holding up to it. But I do feel like I have the sniffles today, and I woke up and I wasn't terrified. I was like, hey, maybe I just have maybe I just have some allergies or a little bit of a cold. So for the first time in a while, I was like, yeah, maybe I just got a cold, and I'll be all right. But I didn't. I don't feel the need to self-isolate for 10 days and take a lot of rapid tests and all that good jazz. So maybe we are getting on down the road. The CDC has an argument that, hey, we need to be able to do this for public safety. And this is within, I think we've talked about agencies before, Joe, but the Congress, all this power rests with Congress. And they set up these agencies and give them this broad declaration. All right, you're in charge of public safety and you can do this, this, and this. And so these, I don't say this to be derogatory, but they're bureaucrats, right? In the CDC. And so they wield, these unelected people wield a lot of power that Congress has delegated to them. And so that's what the judge said is like, hey, you guys have exceeded your congressional authority by doing this. And so their argument's going to be, we have not. This is in our purview of things that we can do and things the Congress has required us to do, and we need to be able to do this because if it does spike again, we need to be able to know that we can institute this ban. So I don't know that the CDC exceeded their authority. I haven't seen the specific legal arguments because they're not widely available, but I don't know that they've done, if they've exceeded their authority, they can't do a mask ban on public transportation. Seems like that's probably in their wheelhouse, and they can do that. This is my thought.
Yeah, but that's your thought. But then you look at what the judge says, and there, clearly, her holding is that mask requirement violates the procedures for that agency rulemaking, and that's kind of where this ended up being struck down. But it's regardless, it's gone. The mask mandate is gone, and it will be interesting to see what it would take, and God willing, we'll never have any kind of crazy spike or crazy new variant, but I'd be interested to see what it would take to get us back to that same level of restriction, because you're going to have so much more resistance from people. I feel like after after everything that's happened and after all these things have been lifted, it would I almost feel like it would take something really drastic to push us back to that point.
Well, I think too, we'll always have folks that wear a mask now, right? It doesn't matter that they're not required. And certainly if you feel like, you need to wear a mask or you've got, some other health issues or something, by all means. But I think it'll, we'll have masks around for a long time. But yeah,
that was the argument for a lot of the folks who opposed the mandate, is that no one's preventing anyone from wearing a mask. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. Wear 6 masks. but don't tell everyone that they have to wear a mask. That was the position that was pushed by a lot of these anti-mask folks.
The Outlaw Lawyers, Josh Whitaker and Joe Hamer. You can find them at Whitaker and Hamer Law Firm. Managing partners there, practicing attorneys here in North Carolina. Offices in Raleigh, Garner, Clayton, Goldsboro, Fuquay-Varina, and Gastonia. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this week's program.